If you want to see a review littered with recency bias and full of enthusiasm, then you're in the right place. However, if you've not seen Wicked Part 1, then go ahead and skip this or save to watch later. Let's get into it. So, of course, I'm a theater kid. I was gonna love this movie regardless. I think there's like zero way they could have fucked this movie up so bad that I wouldn't have loved it. So I want to acknowledge that. I still feel like I have enough clarity to say that this is a very faithful adaptation of the musical. Cinema Joe was right. If you're a fan of the musical, you're going to absolutely love this. Even if you're not a fan of the musical, I still think there's a lot for you in this movie if you're willing to get past a 2-hour, 40-minute runtime. A runtime that the movie admittedly can only get away with because it's based on such a popular, beloved IP with so many fans that were already bought in. You could have said this movie is 4 hours and millions of sweaty theater children would still be filling the theater seats. There have been some people saying that Cynthia Erivo has been a little cocky on this press tour, but honestly, even if she was, I think she super earned it. One of my favorite film reviewers, Kit Laser, said it completely right that Cynthia has more power in her eyebrow or the curve of her mouth than most people do in their entire body. Plus, Ariana Grande is truly an absolute scene stealer. She's delightful, the perfect amount of charming and dislikable and lovable at the same time. Honestly, I'd be pretty surprised if both of them didn't go home with at least nominations for their roles. And in terms of other award season recognition, costume design would be absolutely crazy to be left out of this category. The overall production design was beautiful, striking the perfect balance between whimsical but also balanced in the crushing realism of the story. I saw a take about this that I really didn't agree with, about the lighting like totally killing the movie. They were comparing it to the original Wizard of Oz, one of the first movies in Technicolor, which was thrilling and beautiful and colorful. But in my opinion, that's like the whole point of the musical, is that it's not this wonderful magical place that the Wizard of Oz is, and it's not Dorothy's beautiful bright colored eyes. We're seeing the grittier, real version of this where everything is corrupt and nobody can be trusted. The version where when you do see things through rose-colored glasses, that vision quickly falls apart. Plus, I did think there was amazing use of color in this movie. I thought everything in the Emerald City was beautiful, stunning, vibrant, and exciting. Shout out to all the visibly gay actors that we saw in Oz. That was actually really cool and exciting. Super random thing, by the way, the guy I'm sitting next to leans to the person he's there with saying, "Is that Ariana Grande?" Bitch, where have you been? Everybody knows this. How did you go to this movie not knowing she was in it? That's like the whole thing of the movie. I hope that guy enjoyed it. There were so many times in this movie that I got goosebumps. I got them in the first scene. I got them during The Wizard and I got them pretty much anytime anybody sang a solo. Something I super loved about this movie is how John Chu incorporated all of the like sounds and upbeats and fun like musical motifs into practical things. Like in the very first scene in the overture, when they ripped the banner and the banner fell down, those all happen on musical beats and percussive moments. But obviously, I've talked about how much I like this movie. I did have some problems with it. First of all, Ethan Slater jump scare. Actually, two of my biggest issues in this movie are related to glasses. Obviously, Dr. Dillamond had glasses, but the way he was wearing them down his nose, he couldn't see. He'd have to have a head like this to be able to look through the lenses and looking down. It looked so silly. Like, push your glasses up, sir. I know they wanted him to be, like, on his nose, the bridge of his nose, but that doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. Push them up, sir. My other thing was, why and how did child Elphaba have the exact same frames as adult Elphaba? We know you are going to grow out of them, so they're clearly different glasses. So did you just choose to get the same glasses? And how did the glasses manufacturer have the same pair of glasses in an adult size, like presumably 5 to 10 years later when you needed to size up? It's not like we needed the glasses to signify that's Elphaba. She's green. It's obvious. Another problem I had is I don't like the people in Wizardmania that look like striped pea pods. You can ask my mom when we went to see the musical. I didn't like the dancing egg people. It's because they don't have arms. And now that's not to say I don't like people without arms. I have no problem with people without arms. I bet there's some really great people without arms. I don't like people with arms concealing the fact that they have arms. What are you hiding? What are you hiding? Another problem that I had is a problem I had with a musical that I feel like they could have improved upon but didn't really do much to touch, was that the relationship they're trying to build between Fiyero and Elphaba feels like kind of a weak connection for how strong they're supposed to be feeling at each other about the end of the act. Like, they're clearly having intense feelings, but we've really shared 2, 3, 5 to 10-second moments together, and I feel like they could have really taken time to build that. One of the strengths of this movie is it uses its lengthy runtime to help savor in moments and acting moments and beats in exchanges to really build character and relationship, but they don't do that between this one. Also, I can't not talk about Jeff Goldblum. He's just Jeff Goldblum, so it's like, get why he's in this movie, and I actually think he does an okay job in the character, but it was very hard for me to separate. In fact, I thought I was going to have a similar issue with Ariana Grande, but I really didn't. I really just saw Glinda up on the screen. I never saw Ariana. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen Jeff Goldblum not play himself, which is okay. That's what actors do. Actors are putting themselves into characters. However, it was hard for me to separate his face and see the wizard. They also managed to make the most boring song in the show, A Sentimental Man, somewhat bearable. I'll take it. I also found it really interesting how the little figurine he took from his model, which reminded me of Walt Disney's big Epcot model, by the way, but how the figurine he produced of her had her skin color a different shade of green. Very interesting. Wicked has always been very charged. The whole story essentially revolves around othering. And honestly, them leaning into it is the only reason that I think part 1 made itself feel like a complete movie. It's kind of like Into the Woods in the way that you could take act 1 and it still feels like a very complete story, at least in that arc. Even though you won't get character resolution, at least you feel like things are settled. Honestly, I'll take John Chu directing every movie musical from now on. It was everything I wanted it to be: theatrical, grand, exciting, beautiful, and it was all of that and more. Do I think it was a perfect movie? No, I don't. But I thought it was delightful and charming. The third act of this movie was so thrilling that I immediately left the theater and went to watch it again. Shout out to Regal Unlimited for letting me see any movie, anytime, for no weekly limit. Seriously, the last act of this movie is so fantastic. And even if this wasn't from a popular IP, the last 20 minutes is enough to make it super memorable on its own. Case in point, this movie was littered with fan service, color, amazing vocal and acting performances, and a delightful world that I cannot wait to see what they do in part 2. The second half of this musical is significantly darker, so I'm not sure if it's going to have the same fun, jovial excitement and feelings of whimsy that the first part does, but I'll sure as hell be tuned in opening night. If you want to see more of me geeking out, feel free to give us a subscribe. Give us a subscribe? Subscribe to our channel, and we'll keep making silly, goofy content. Anyways, I hope the rest of your day is wicked. Wicked. Yeah, I'll stop now.